Cleopatra was born in 69 BC as the seventh of her name. In ancient Egypt, women generally had more legal rights and freedoms compared to women in many other ancient civilizations. This meant that Cleopatra was technically third in the line of succession, after her two older sisters and her younger brother, who, due to male favoritism, would have inherited the throne. Her family descended from the Macedonian general Ptolemy, who served under Alexander the Great. This means that Cleopatra possessed Greek blood, but not a single drop of blood from the old pharaohs ran through her veins. Even more shocking, Cleopatra lived closer to our current time than to the time of ancient Egypt, when the pyramids were built. As the daughter of Ptolemy XII, Cleopatra was well educated from an early age. She was very intelligent, showing interest in astronomy and science in general. Moreover, she was the only sibling in the family who made an effort to study the Egyptian language and culture to connect with its people. In contrast, during this time, it was common for the upper Egyptian class to speak Greek for conversation. Cleopatra is said to have not been traditionally pretty, but of great charisma. She believed herself to be an embodiment of the goddess Isis, trying to dress and act like her. The death of her father, Ptolemy XII, created conflict within the family. Cleopatra and her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, were appointed as joint rulers of Egypt, as their father had wished. This was likely only temporary, until the young Ptolemy, who was only 10 years old at that time, would come of age. However, a power struggle ensued between Cleopatra and her brother, fueled by the influence of advisors like Pothinus, who supported the male part. Cleopatra was declared outlawed and had to fear for her life. She was only 21 at that time. At the same time, a certain Julius Caesar followed his rival Pompey to Egypt. Pompey, who some called the Great, had lost the civil war against Caesar and fled to Egypt. The advisors of the now called boy ruler of Egypt, Ptolemy XIII, saw an opportunity to gain Caesar's favor and had Pompey killed. However, when Caesar reached Alexandria, only to be welcomed with the head of his former ally, he was shocked and even saddened. This immediately spoiled the relationship between the dictator and the current government of Egypt. Okay, back to Cleopatra. Legend has it that in 48 BC, Cleopatra famously smuggled herself into the palace where Caesar was staying, rolled up in a carpet or bedsheet to gain an audience with him. Her bold and unconventional approach caught Caesar's attention, and she managed to seduce him, although Caesar was aware of that. They formed a political and sexual relationship to make her the sole ruler of the country. This, of course, threatened the current regime, who then besieged Alexandria. Caesar kept calm and secured the vital elements of the city and harbor to secure the routes for his reinforcement, who soon arrived and ended the siege. Unfortunately, amidst the chaos, the great library of Alexandria was damaged through fire, destroying a vast portion of human knowledge. While all of this occurred, Cleopatra remained loyal to Caesar's side, which proved to be the best decision she could have made. Following this event, Julius managed to defeat Ptolemy's forces at the Battle of the Nile, after which the young king was likely drowned in the river. Cleopatra became Queen Cleopatra, the sole ruler of Egypt, and a thankful ally to Julius Caesar and Rome. The queen even birthed the dictator a son, commonly known as Caesarion or Ptolemy XIV. As a ruler, Queen Cleopatra proved competent and enacted several reforms. Cleopatra implemented policies to stabilize the economy, including measures to manage taxation, regulate trade, and promote agricultural productivity. She invested in irrigation projects to improve agricultural output and ensure food security for the population. She also promoted the export of Egyptian goods such as grain, papyrus, and textiles. Importantly, Cleopatra was known for her patronage of scholars, intellectuals, and artists. She established institutions of learning, such as libraries and academies, to foster intellectual and cultural development in Egypt. Queen Cleopatra was in Rome when her lover, Julius Caesar, was assassinated in 44 BC. Some forces within the city, including the conspirators of the murder, were not positively disposed towards her. Therefore, the Queen of Egypt calculated her every move. She decided to stick with Caesar's right-hand man, Mark Antony, which again would prove to be a wise decision, at least for now. The alliance of Caesar's avengers would smash the coalition of his Republican murderers, and Mark Antony and Cleopatra would fall in love.
The depth of Cleopatra's affection for Mark Antony is a subject of debate, yet her genuine care for the man smitten with the Queen of Egypt cannot be denied. However, Antony's marital tie to Octavia, Octavian's beloved sister, posed a formidable obstacle. Egypt, not yet a part of the Roman Empire, stirred uneasy memories in Rome, where Cleopatra's allure was viewed with suspicion. The queen's aspirations were grand, envisioning a union between Roman and Egyptian realms under her and Antony's rule, a vision that struck at the heart of Roman pride. Cleopatra's support of Antony in his Parthian campaign was substantial, while Octavian's meager reinforcement efforts fell short of expectations, stoking Antony's ire. Meanwhile, Cleopatra's mere presence challenged Rome's sensibilities, her involvement in Roman affairs an affront to tradition. Antony's promise of the Orient to Cleopatra's children, born of him and Caesar, escalated tensions further, pushing Rome towards inevitable conflict. With Octavian's declaration of war on Egypt, the die was cast. Antony's audacious plan to attack Rome itself marked a dramatic escalation. A colossal fleet, boasting 500 warships and 300 cargo vessels, embarked from Alexandria, bearing 500,000 souls. Rowers, soldiers, and engineers alike. Victory for the Eastern Alliance promised a resurgence of Hellenistic dominance across the Mediterranean. The campaign's outset was fraught with adversity. A tempest thwarted their initial landing, forcing a strategic relocation to the Greek coastline near the Bay of Actium. With naval supply lines severed and morale waning, Cleopatra urged a decisive naval engagement, leveraging their superior fleet. Yet Antony's generals favored a land-based confrontation, playing to their strengths. In deference to Cleopatra's counsel, Antony committed to the naval clash at Actium. Their objective was not outright victory, but rather the breaking of the naval blockade, entrapping them. Warships engaged Agrippa's fleet to create an opening for Cleopatra's vessels to escape to Egypt. However, a leak divulged their plan to the enemy, precipitating a massive sea battle. Amidst the chaos, Cleopatra's swift ships maneuvered through the fray, securing an escape route. Antony's vessels followed suit, albeit not without losses. Octavian's ruthless reprisal, incinerating stranded ships, dealt a devastating blow to Antony's cause, leading to the surrender of the Eastern Alliance's land forces. With defeat looming, Cleopatra's grand ambition crumbled, marking the twilight of the Ptolemaic dynasty.
It's the August of 30 BC. Queen Cleopatra of Egypt and her lover Mark Antony have gambled and lost. Their hopes of ruling over the entirety of Rome were crushed at Actium by Octavian's forces. Upon hearing of Cleopatra's supposed death, Mark Antony killed himself with a sword. However, the queen was still very much alive, and he was brought to her to die in her arms. Octavian acted kind, but Cleopatra knew that she was to be humiliated as a prisoner in Rome. On her commands, a venomous snake was placed in a basket, hidden under figs. Her food was served as well as her death. According to Suetonius and Plutarch, Octavian allowed the dead couple to be buried together. Cleopatra and Mark Antony were almost certainly buried together. But where? The tomb, full of gold and kingly jewelry, was lost in time. Most of old Alexandria was swallowed by the ocean, mostly due to natural disasters like the tsunami of 365 AD. This is why many believe the answer lies underwater. However, there is another possibility. As archaeologist Dr. Kathleen Martinez reminded everyone that Cleopatra thought of herself as an embodiment of the goddess Isis and Marcus Antonius as an embodiment of Isis's husband Osiris. Therefore, Martinez and her team started digging under the temple of Taposiris Magna, where they recently discovered a hidden long tunnel full of artifacts of Cleopatra. This is the closest we have been to finally finding the lost tomb.